Haji was trying to put up a team together to craft lies and propaganda and attribute the chaos that were to lead us. I included, former President Uhuru Kenyatta and others. Yet it is very clear, and the President has admitted, that these protests were caused by the anger of the people of Kenya and their refusal of Finance Bill 2024.
I am ready, I am willing, I am prepared to consult and work with leaders who are willing to consult and work with us. Sisi tuko tayari kabisa. Lakini kama mtu hataki, hatuwezi kumlazimisha. Kwa sababu Kenya ni nchi ya demokrasia.
Huyu rais wetu tunamsaidia. Na yeye juzi amevuja baraza la mawaziri, atafute wafanyikazi. Kuna kiongozi anaweza faulu bila wafanyikazi? Atafute asitafute? Atafute watu wazuri. Watu ambaye wako na bidii, watu ambaye hawana kiburi.
What dialogue is necessary to get all the senior officers in Nairobi who have been in place when this is happening to go home or be suspended? What dialogue is needed to get police officers whose faces have been in the media shooting wantonly, killing people? What dialogue is needed for them to go home? And what dialogue is needed on corruption? What dialogue is needed for the clear message to William Ruto and his regime that they must exit the stage? We are asking, is it possible, the way the DCI was explaining today, that an individual can murder more than 10 women, dismember them, place them in sacks, transport them to a quarry next to a police station without detection and in a crowded area? The only people with the capacity to do that kind of industrial scale criminal enterprise is state agencies gone rogue.
Within a period of 21 days, we would have gotten all the information. We would have known who committed these crimes. And the law will take its own course.
If you look at the way the bodies have been disguised and packaged, all the same. If you look at the place the bodies were thrown into the dump site, just one spot, I get the same. So what are we really looking at? Are we dealing with a cult that is associated with criminal activities? Are we dealing with serial killers that are also associated with criminal activities? Or even, could we be
All right, it seems there's some technical challenges there, but we want to hear the voice of Shakila. They're commenting on the wiper issue as well. And I can see, if my director may just pick up this, just to get clarification, especially on the wiper position and the expulsion of Farah Maalim, right? Director tells me so it's okay. We can actually just replay it just to give you a reminder of what really happened last week as far as Farah Maalim and his utterances that was nabbed by also the NCIC.
Regarding the conduct and the statement attributed to Deputy Party Leader Farah Maalim, let it be known clearly that the Wiper Democratic Movement Party distances and disassociates itself from these remarks by our party deputy leader. They go against our guiding principles and values as a party. NEC decisions is that the Honorable Farah Maalim be de-whipped from all committees in Parliament, including the Speaker's panel. NEC also commented expulsion, NEC also recommends the expulsion from the party to the National Delegates Convention, NDC, the supreme organ of the party.
All right, Farah says, I wasn't kicked out of hotel, says him. The DAB MP Farah Maalim has dismissed a statement by the management of Sarova White Sands that he was ejected from the hotel to avert youth invading the hotel to protest against his alleged utterances. The MP said he had been attending a meeting with the Northeastern MPs in the hotel and was set to check out. We had a fruitful meeting with my colleagues and some left the hotel yesterday, that was on Friday, including me, while others left on Saturday. He added, I have seen a number of hotels claiming that I am banned from visiting them, but what I know is that this is being perpetuated by some politicians and some human rights groups working against me. In a phone interview with The Nation, the MP maintained that though some of his utterances were misconstrued, he will not apologize to anyone who is acting against the Constitution of Kenya. I am one of the veteran MPs in the country, and we know there are protected areas, including Parliament. We cannot allow thugs to invade it in the name of protest. I support peaceful protest, not thuggery, said the MP. On the issue of being expelled from Wiper Party and whipped, he dismissed those pushing the move, saying they are being driven by emotions. As a member, I am protected by party rules, but I can as well resign and contest in my constituency as an independent candidate and win. I am also sending a warning to those trying to seek signatures of my removal. The issue will go on, but they won't get even 1,000 signatures, since this is propagated by Nairobi people who are not my voters, he added. All right, let's hear from Dan Mazo. It seems there is a foreign element even in Farah Maalim's also. As you can see from this particular. So what is the stand? He says that this was just a bunch of emotionalism that was coming from those.
And you remember,
is he out of the party or not?
Remember the last show we appeared with him, I had indicated that NEC was going to sit, and he was going to be, one of the topics. And as you can see, if you do not agree with your party, you can either be whipped, and the Constitution and the Political Parties Act and the Constitution of the party, which is very much aware. He is aware that he has gone against the party whipping, and he has made decisions against the party. As a party, we have helped him. I can see he say that he can resign and go and vie as an independent person. I really want to challenge him to do so. Let him resign and then vie afresh. We will soon be having IBC, so there will be no gap. And then we see how best he survives, without us. As you indicated to him, he had been in and out of Parliament since 1992. And for him to stay in the House, it is the decision of his constituents. But as a party, we are willing and more than willing to withdraw our sponsorship against Farah Maalim, so long as he's going against the ideals of the party.
So is he within the party, or is he been expelled? What is the position?
The proceedings to expel him have begun. So they will be concluded at some point, and we will have withdrawn our sponsorship to him. We will give him an opportunity to be heard, so that he can explain himself and he can explain why he's going against party position. So his die is cast. And, the laws we have, we need political party fidelity. We form political parties to form government. So the moment you no longer want to follow our ideals or wish to work with us, then you are very free to resign or to be kicked out of the party. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. It's good that we've clarified that, so that is in the offing, so we'll also be putting our tails on that particular story. But let's just begin with Tabitha. Now we buckle down to a discussion where we are at as a country. We know the Gen Z, they're back to the streets, and this also, they're turning the focus on Occupy the counties. They want transparency, they want accountability at the end of the day, but it seems they are not abating. But this issue of foreign elements and Ford Foundation and the doublespeak that is coming from the Deputy President and the President right now, we've seen the President has been warming up to the West. Ford Foundation is a key, a foundation from the Henry Ford organization at the end of the day. Where are we reading this? Or this also, is it a divergence or deflectionary adventure from the government, from the real issue that is on the ground?
Dibal, before even we get to the issue of the Gen Z, allow me to really recognize the young gentleman, Chalo Wambua, who helped in retrieving the bodies from the Kware Dam.
He comes from my village.
He comes from a village?
He comes from my village, a place called Mavindini.
Pronounce it in...
Mavindini. He comes from a place called
Mavindini.
Yes. Mavindini is a place of bogs somewhere near Thoke Dam.
Yeah, you need that affectation on that particular, yes, somewhere say it.
Yes, yes, just to really appreciate him coming out and volunteering to assist in this particular process. He's done a good job, but we still need the authorities to ensure they have systems and machineries that are able to also aid in this work. This should also give him even a job opportunity for such role that he actually plays. And Asante Sana, on behalf of Kenyans, on behalf of all women, Chalo Wambua, thank you so much. Now, back to the issues of where we are. You know, when the state talks about we have people funding this protest, of course they just don't wake up and things are just happening. Of course there's more to it, and if evidence is also in place, then it is the time we start agreeing and start having the discussion why. Why would foreigners be interested in making our country unstable? You know, then there are other interests, as the president puts it out. But back to the issue of currently what is happening within our beloved country. We've had the issues that agencies had raised 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, if I'm not wrong, starting from the issue of rejection of the bill, disbursement of the cabinet, you know, putting aside budgets, for example, the First Lady's office budget, and many others that have been cited during this particular protest. And the question to ask ourselves is that the issues that had been cited, what has been done, what has not been done? And quite a number of these issues have been addressed by the president himself.
We'll come to those issues. I just want us to interrogate this with the statement from the president regarding the foreign elements that are actually sponsoring this. I think this is a bigger issue, so that we can come to those silent issues that are actually exacerbating or propelling this particular protest, because they are back. So when we talk about foreign elements, this is just one organization. And was it in order also for the president to pick them out in public, or this should have been matters of the Security Council on how they can handle it? Should we have known?
Yes, very, very true. And that's where I'm heading, actually. I'm on the issue of this foreign financiers. And by the time the president is raising out, and the question that should he have raised it in public, when the demonstrations are being done, they are not being done what we call chini ya maji. They are being done out there. It's not a secret. People are out there talking. We've had the platforms like For the Space, where people have been able to express themselves without hiding. I mean, it's not a secret. So there's nothing wrong with the head of state rising and saying, this is what is happening. And that's why I'm saying by the time he's communicating such information, he's just not woken up and decided like this is just happening. He has some information, of course. We've seen even in the social media platforms, we've seen different organizations, not only Ford, but we've seen others being mentioned in regards to the same financial NGOs, close to over $200,000 each organization, and I'll be able to maybe pick that as we continue, because this has been trending from yesterday, Dibal, different, the African Census Limited, Africa Center for Open Governance, Transparency International Kenya, Institute for Social Accountability. This each is about $200,000, Dibal, you know. National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders, Kenya, $257,000 USD. So this is information that is in the public. The same way the rejection and the protest are still in the public. So there's nothing wrong. And that's why when I trickle back to get to understand, why are we still having demonstrations today? Why? Dibal, back to the issue of the financials. That's where the problem then is, because if this is coming out and we're saying that there are people who are financing this and enhancing this to take place, then why, the question that Gen Zs are asking themselves, why are we still going back to the streets, our people? Why do we have to destroy people's businesses? Then the question of the financial comes in very clearly, because then there is institutions financing this. Then the question is, why are they doing this? Because Gen Zs have spoken from yesterday, I've been listening to them, they're saying, we've actually, the issues that we had brought about, they've been responded to. Is it the time to still continue? Why don't we give the president time to constitute his new cabinet? The other issues that have not been addressed, we cite them out. We also give it time for them to be solutionized.
All right. The question will be, how wrong? Let me come to the Dan Manzo.
Yes.
How wrong is it for civil society to finance protest? Because if they're agitating for change, if they want corruption to be clamped down, what is so evil with that? If you're being financed, aside from what the anarchy they're talking about, but this is a peaceful protest, devoid of the goods who are actually trying to overtake it and scupper the whole.
But I think
is there any illegality in it?
No. First of all, I think there's been total, misconception and misinformation about the role of the Ford Foundation in the country. I have had an experience, from the early days of Moi, where this organization, what they do is just to provide education. Even all those budgets being mentioned. What is happening, I like the heading in the Standard. Ruto is simply running out of excuses. He just used, the Gen Zs caught everybody into a surprise, including the Ford Foundation, or including every other Kenyan. What is happening is that the Gen Zs are communicating through, the telephones. It costs very little to work out, to communicate. And if you see some of the meetings of Gen Zs online, they run up to 700,000 people, Kenyans. They go even up to 1.2 million Kenyans in one meeting, the ones following. I can assure you, even the meeting for swearing the president at Kasarani is only 60,000 people. So what has happened now is that, there is a new awakening of Kenyans who have been mistreated by their own government. I have not had any statement from Ford Foundation, but I can almost be 100% sure that Ford Foundation is blameless. They have a role just like many other NGOs do in this country, educating, giving scholarships, and even organizing meetings, for people to learn different things, for people to understand the Constitution better.
Civil education.
Civil education. They even, one time I used to volunteer. Actually, they work mostly with volunteers. I would volunteer on radio programs to explain the new Constitution. In 2010, there is Legal Resource Foundation, it helps. Those people who are vanquished, kituo cha sheria, people are losing their land. So lawyers volunteer to go and do things like that. But there's no way, and they would have agitated. The moment we had a problem with the finance bill, it was our own problem. We pointed it out that the finance bill had something very wrong. Experts had not been deployed properly. The government was using force. If President Ruto was right on his finance bill, he would never have withdrawn it. He would have signed it into law and would have forced it on Kenyans. He has withdrawn it. Nobody asked him to dismiss cabinet. I think he has some serious misadvisors in his government. They are now misadvising him to close down cabinet. That was not our problem. Our problem is the corruption in the country. And now Kenyans are in the know. Young people have really been mistreated by this government. Although the president is going to some rural areas where he has some strongholds and pretending he can hold a meeting there. Why can't he go to Githurai, where they killed people? Why can't he explain why they have killed people? The only person who may remotely be associated with the Ford Foundation was William Mutunga, who went to a police station to seek the release of children. Dr. Haminwa went to seek the release of children. He was tear-gassed, a senior lawyer. So there is something totally wrong with the government, and they should not blame it on anyone. If there is anybody who has supported this country, it's Ford Foundation. So the president is misadvised, and in many, many things, when he talks, you can see a president who has no idea. Where is the intelligence of this country? Why are they misinforming him? In the intelligence, they have hired children of the rich. People who even don't know where Kikomba is. People who have never been to Kikomba. People who can never give information to the government. People who don't know what is happening to children in this country. One of the things which have annoyed many Gen Zs, you are a graduate. You want to join the army. You are asked for 300,000. You are from a poor family. You go, you sell your land. You give the 300,000. You still miss the job. That is repeated with the police, with the prisons, with the KWS, with the forest. You know, all these forces where young people want to go and serve. You increase the taxes. You send away all the foreign companies from Kenya. Most go-downs in industrial area, President Ruto doesn't know, have been closed down. This is where many graduates will come and work, kibarua. They will get 20, 30,000 shillings. Now they are closed down. The owners have gone to London. Most of them are of Indian origin, but also have connections in London. If you walk around in that area, you'll be shocked. Where businesses used to thrive, they have died. He doesn't listen. He goes on to increase the fuel levy. The moment you increase the fuel levy, you increase cost of everything. You have increased education. Just like the Attorney General, former Attorney General, now former Speaker, indicated, blame it on Ruto. Ask him. So he should not blame anyone. He should first blame himself. He should ask himself, what is wrong with me? Then where am I going wrong? Do I have the right advisors? He is totally misadvised. He sits in the house on the hill, flies on helicopters to some places. If he really is in charge of this country, let him go to Githurai and address a rally there and open up, some construction as he was doing and talk about the markets. Let him go to Githurai. This is where he got a lot of votes from. Then he will know he's really in charge of this country. So there is something very wrong. He's just looking for excuses. He should stop intimidating our partners. There is something this government has done very wrong to the and this will not stop it. Ford Foundation will not stop its job of helping Kenyans, of educating Kenyans, of providing legal aid. The biggest they have done is to provide legal aid. If you cannot deal with that, and even if I remember the days they used to provide legal aid, they will only pay bond for people, for political prisoners. That's why there was a big call called release political prisoners. They will only bail them out. They are very careful with their money. They will not use any, and I can assure you, any Gen Z who has been paid by Ford Foundation, let him come and talk. The President Ruto has misled himself. The writing is on the wall. Right. Many tekel, Ruto, your government is over. You better get the right people to help you.
All right, many tekel. Your days are numbered. This is what Dan Maz is trying to speak in tongues here. All right, let's just hear from Honorable Danson Mungatana, because how then do we trust the veracity and the efficacy of what the president is saying when we had also the deputy president, you had him, that he was being incriminated by the NIS. So what is the turnaround now to the Ford Foundation? And we see also a good gesture from the president. We have the PBO Act that now was put in place after so many years and complaints from the civil society that PBO Act has not been assented to. It has been assented to in this current administration now that there's a free flow of money to the NGOs, which was not current, or maybe just being given enough room to swing their cart, so to speak.
Okay, maybe I would start with the last statements that my colleague, Senator Manzo, is talking about. The fact of the matter is that the mene tekel Perez talk, that story is very clear in the Bible. That king had defiled the articles of worship, you know? And now I wanted to inform my colleague here that sometimes talk is cheap, but study first before you just utter statements. When you say the president is not in touch with the ground, when you tell us that he needs to go to Githurai for him to prove anything, first of all, opposition cannot determine the program of the president. The president works on his own program. The president is in touch with the people. That is why he responded when the young people came out with demands. And he has gone even beyond what the demands were, and has said that this and many other people think that this is an opportunity for him to make a fresh start so that the government can be more responsive. And I think this is a president who listens to a lot, and he tries to balance. There's a lot of interest. And he has even gone ahead, despite the fact that many of us would want him to still bring in a team from our side only. The president's thinking is that he should have a broad-based cabinet, you know. So we think that to try and portray this president as a president who doesn't listen, who doesn't what, he needs to go to where, I think it's just, you know, politics, or the usual manenos that are being said. This is a president who is very, very serious. I have interacted with presidents, and I think this is one that is really working and has the heart of this country in the right place. Now, having said that, I'd like to also answer your question. You see, the head of state is also the head of all the security organs, and he receives information and intelligence that we don't have, okay? So as to whether or not the president is right or not, I don't have, and we all here seated don't have the access of information that he has. And I also want to say, you know, there's a difference between intelligence and evidence. Intelligence is information, and that information, even if it is true, it may not amount to sufficient evidence that will stand in court. But intelligence is information. Now, the level of intelligence that I receive myself, you know, from whatever sources I have, cannot compare at all to the level that the president has. So he has access to information we don't have. But this is what I will say about Ford Foundation, because I have also interacted with them. Ford Foundation has been in this country for many years. And at the beginning of this conversation today, I mentioned that during the second liberation, we were fighting for rights. We were fighting for increased space, democratic space. And people paid the price. And then at the end of it, something good came out of it. Now, not just Ford Foundation was associated with the agitation at that time, but many other foundations, like I remember a name like Ubrit Herbert Foundation, some German foundation. They
Friedrich Hubert. Yeah.
Hubert Foundation,
yeah.
And many others who came. You know, I think you remember them, Conrad Adenauer Foundation. I remember going for those trainings and listening to them, and you know, even traveling outside the country, because we were all united at that time, pushing for our second liberation. There were people in the front, there were people at the back, and some of these people were backing this. If you look at what Ford Foundation does, even, and it's an open secret, and even when you open their website right now, they will tell you, one of the things is they support discussions on governance issues. They push for and support leaders who speak truth to power. They support civil societies. So they are playing around the democratic space. So my colleague is right that even in the past, many of us who are here now, older people now, we were supported by these organizations from outside the country. So that's what I know about Ford Foundation. And when you mention civil society, you mention Chief Justice, former Chief Justice William Mutunga, you cannot fail to mention Ford Foundation. So we don't know exactly what role they are playing right now, but we know in the past several other organizations, including Ford Foundation, were very involved in agitation for multi-party democracy and other freedoms that came with it.
That's all I was asking.
So we don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was asking you. What is the extent of involvement, given that the background you're giving us, that
yes.
if these were peaceful protests,
yeah.
And of course we have Ford, amongst other also civil society or maybe foundations and NGOs that are sponsoring peaceful protests,
yeah.
What is the illegality with that?
No, see, let me just say this.
Or what is so immoral with that? That's maybe to put it about.
No, let me just say this, Dibal. In the actual sense, giving money for pro-democracy activity, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, but you see, like all good things, it can be subject to abuse. Because you don't know what the recipient does. You know, it's just like the way you apply for a loan in a government, in a bank. They'll give you this condition, that condition, and so on. But the moment the money lands in your account, you are the signatory, okay? You can actually decide that instead of going to build that house, you're going to do other things with the same loan that your official reason for applying was this way. So, for me, I would say if the civil organizations have received money, and this money is supposed to be for this purpose, a noble purpose, but then you divert it to other things, I think it is wrong to that extent. But if it is money that is being applied for good purposes, then that is what civil society exists for. That is what organizations exist for. So from where I sit, I'd want to conclude this way, that Ford Foundation and other foundations in the past, when we were younger, have been associated in playing in the field around governance issues.
And democracy, and, consolidating democracy
things.
Yeah.
And in the past, they have assisted in pushing for change from various regimes. I don't think it is, and it's not only in Kenya. And I would say that the president's information, we are not privy to it, so we don't know what really is going on as far as that is concerned. And you also pointed out that there is discrepancy, or it is suggested, from what the deputy president is saying and what the president is saying. I would only say this. If the deputy president said this, and I can see from the display, it's somewhere a long time ago in Mombasa, and this is the latest information, you would want to go with the latest information. And the latest information is what the president has put on the table. We do not have all the information that he has said. But the appeal I would make to Ford Foundation, if it is true, we are not sure what information is there, which we are not in the we don't have that information. But in case it is true, then they should revisit the people they have given the money and find out, because normally there is accountability, like what my colleague has said here, and learned friend, that their money is you have to account for it.
Thank you.
So they need to look at these allegations and put them on the scale of accountability. If they have given money to civil society organizations and this money is not being put into proper use, they need to recall that money.
Thank you.
Or they need to put sanctions on those organizations.
Senior Councillor Okongo, let's just also hear from you. Do you think this is a deflectionary adventure from the government, right?
Yeah. First, if you can give me a minute. There is a statement that has been made by Senator Mungatana that the president is in touch with the people.
that the president has listened. I don't think that's what we have seen from President William Ruto. Even if you pick the Finance Act itself, the Finance Bill, there were all indications that Kenyans did not want that bill. But the president pushed, literally, he pushed it down the throats of Kenyans. He called members of National Assembly to State House, and I don't know whether he gave them incentives or intimidated them to pass it through, ignoring the feelings of Kenyans. I've seen indications in the newspapers that despite protestations from Kenyans against certain cabinet secretaries, I'm seeing indications that he will still ignore the feelings of Kenyans and reappoint those cabinet secretaries back to office. You know the debate from Kenyans, if you listen even to X Space, about the tax burden. But we have just woken up today to see another increase on fuel levy by another 7 shillings. Again, an indication that the president is really out of touch with Kenyans. He doesn't have his ear on the ground, or if he has his ear on the ground, then he ignores them. So I disagree with Senator Mungatana that we have a president who listens. I think we have a president who does not listen. He doesn't care to listen to what is coming from Kenyans. Even court orders, you know, at times the judiciary will give him an easy way out. Give him a judgment that gives him a very easy way out, but he will still go back and try to maneuver his way around it. So if the president was to listen more, act more by having his ears on the ground, he will improve on his governance. Now, going back to the issue of president's pronouncements on what's happening on the protestation, who is sponsoring them, etc. You know, we have a statement from our deputy president, and the last time I read, I think Article 131B, maybe I should be able to read. 131B tells us that the president exercises executive authority of the Republic with the assistance of the deputy president and cabinet secretaries, okay? And then the BAL, if you go to 240, Article 240, I think it establishes the National Security Council, and it says the council consists of the president and the deputy president, meaning, Dibal, that the deputy president is in the mix of what is happening around our security organs, and our security organs includes NSIS. So the deputy president has already come out and told Kenyans that, look, the president is being misled by NSIS. So what we are seeing, maybe the pronouncements from the president on the workings of Ford, is an extension of what the deputy president has told us, that NSIS continues to mislead the president, give him intelligence that is misleading. Because I've given you the standings, the position of the DP in our security organs. He's also in the know-how, so he must have weighed the kind of intelligence that is being generated by NSIS, and it doesn't seem to be credible. And you should not even be asking us to debate. The headline in the Standard tells it all. It says, this is a president who is running out of excuses. Every day he wakes up, he's just giving us excuses. You get the impression that we have a reincarnation of Moi. You know, when Moi used to face domestic challenges on political issues, economic issues, he used to say money is being poured from out there to come and destabilize the government. I don't think anybody will believe him. Thirdly, I and Senator Mungatana served as student leaders in the 90s. And if Mungatana remembers, I was the treasurer of Kenya Law Student Society. Those days, we were sponsored by Ford, if you remember. They gave us a grant of 80,000 as a Kenya Law Students Society that was chaired then by Peter Munya. I was the treasurer. I was the one who received that money. And the money was meant to assist us discuss issues around governance, structure, how the country was reforming. And it was to bring students together to hold a discussion, an open discussion. We did it at Safari Park Hotel. There was no secret about it. And we prepared our accounts and rendered an account of how we had spent that money. It was not meant in any way to destabilize the government. Ford Foundation has produced credible Kenyans. People have worked through in Ford Foundation and who have been taken on board to work for government. People like Justice Mutunga. He was the head of Ford Foundation immediately prior to becoming our Chief Justice. He grew up to join the judiciary and become the head of judiciary. Ford Foundation has supported many organizations in this country. I served as a president of Law Society of Kenya, 2007 to 2011. We used to get support from Ford Foundation, not to destabilize the government, but to undertake activities towards social justice, promote democratic values in a very open way. It's not like they will give you money and tell you, we want you to go and buy firearms to fight the government of the day. Never. It is something that sits in with our democratic constitution of Kenya. I remember that Ford Foundation used to support Youth Agenda, an organization that maybe promotes our young leaders, very, very open again. They support, I know, Albinism Organization of Kenya. They support Transparency International. Why? Because they want to enhance the accountability mechanisms around our governance structure. So there is nothing that is, subversive in the activities of Ford Foundation. In fact, if you are a president, you should be encouraging more of these organizations to pitch in Kenya. Because all these youngsters we are seeing demonstrating, if you go to Ford Foundation, you'll find graduates from our credible universities working for those organizations. So it's a job creation entity. If you start bashing these organizations and they talk of, they'll move to other countries. Go to Rwanda, you'll get Warren Buffett is pumping a lot of money in Rwanda. He's supporting agriculture in Rwanda. He's setting up a very big university because they know that when you have these organizations, they are a source of foreign earnings. They also create jobs for you. They run activities that improve your governance, your social justice sector. Why should you fight them? Debal. I don't know whether they still continue, but I know they used to support even the judiciary because the government does not give the judiciary enough budget to run its activities. So they look around donor organizations, write proposals, get support from them. I think our president is getting the wrong diagnosis on what is ailing this country. The enemy is not Ford Foundation. The enemy is the way we are governing our country. The enemy within is the way we have allowed corruption to be entrenched. Do you want to tell me that Ford Foundation is the one that has sponsored the protestations by Gen Z in various counties today? I don't think so. If you ask me, I'll tell you I have a lot of questions around the governance we are having in Nyamira. I'm sure if you ask many senators, even Mungatana, he will tell you the same. So when these guys are coming out to raise accountability questions, the only thing I can tell my governor is look yourself on the mirror and see what is ailing your county. If you are allowing your ministers and yourself to engage in corruption, please change. If you are not allowing these young people to do business with counties, yet you are required by our own laws to set 30% of the contracts for the youths. Allow them to get the contracts, okay?
Thank you.
If you start looking at external forces to divert the issues that are ailing, you're just postponing the problem. So our president should stop chasing shadows. He should stop living in his own world. He should not give an impression of somebody who is out of touch with his own people. He should wake up from slumber, smell the coffee, and address the challenges that are facing the country. I can tell you, Dibal, the challenge is not Ford Foundation. It's not. The challenge is just how we are behaving, we as leaders, the opulence that Kenyans see from his cabinet. If you change that, you'll sort the problems that your country is facing, and you'll have lesser and lesser opposition from this Gen Z. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. One point on that one. Just one quick one. I was just wanted to say that all the good things they are said about Ford Foundation and the other organizations are there, and we know them. But my learned colleague, and we have a long history with him, should remember, Senator, that when the money comes to the account of those organizations, it is not necessarily true. I've given the example of the bank. When the money comes to the account of the person who has the borrower, it's the borrower's discretion how they use that money. So what I'm saying is that, in fact, the money may have been well meant for good things, like he has outlined, and what I have said, that in the past we have been supported for pro-democracy activities. But what they actually do, the activities, may not be what was written. So, and then he must agree with me that the intelligence that the president has is not available to us. So we don't know exactly what he's linking to Ford Foundation. So I think there's a space we need to give.
Benefit of doubt.
Truly, there are issues that we need to deal with, and he's right. There are many issues that we need to deal with, but those issues, we have started tackling them. This administration has started tackling those issues, and I think we are on the right path.
Right. Debali, if I may ask just one question, because we are all lawyers, is there any evidence that Ford Foundation was sponsoring street protests?
Okay.
If we live in this country,
this is what he's saying.
We all know.
He's talking about.
We all know what triggered. Let me even rephrase the question. If we do not have that finance bill with those very punitive tax proposals, could we have had protests in Kenya? That's what we should be asking. You know, if we get a wrong diagnosis, we'll be diverted to discuss issues that are not helpful to us as a country.
Yeah.
Let's accept that. Why has the president fired his entire cabinet? Why? Corruption. Why is he saying that he's calling for a broad-based government? He's owning up that there is something that is ailing his government. And that's what we should be addressing. You're not telling us that Ford Foundation has come in to...
That's what I'm asking. Is it a deflectionary adventure to divert? Tabitha, can we just